Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we've got a fantastic story session lined up for us. We're going to explore a classic tale that's not just highly entertaining, but honestly, incredibly useful for building up our English skills. We're looking at the famous fable, Belling the Cat. So let's explore this colorful, kind of cartoonish, yet surprisingly deep story together. We're going to expand our vocabulary, practice our speaking, and uncover a timeless lesson that applies just as much to our own lives today as it does to a fictional family of mice. Okay, let's dive right into this. I want you to close your eyes for a second. Imagine the absolute highest stakes scenario possible, but, in a cartoon world. You're a tiny, helpless mouse, and lurking in the dark shadows of your house is a giant, terrifying, incredibly hungry cat. It's a total classic setup, right? But how exactly do a group of these little mice stop a predator that's literally 10 times their size? Well, that is the exact problem our characters are facing today. The situation for these mice was just absolutely grim. The story says they lived in constant terror. Every single day was a nightmare. This cat didn't just hunt them every now and then. It hunted them relentlessly. It never gave up, never took a day off. It was slowly and methodically picking the mice off one by one. I mean, imagine the dramatic tension here. Every time a mouse left its little hole for a crumb of cheese, it might never come back. They were living in a state of absolute sheer panic. So, what do we do when we're completely out of options? We call a meeting. The mice, desperate to find a remedy, which, by the way, is a fantastic word for a solution or a cure to a problem, they called a general council. They desperately needed to figure out how to guard against their common enemy. And during this frantic meeting, a lot of schemes or plans were proposed. But one by one, they were all rejected. Nothing seemed good enough to stop this relentless cat. But then, just when all hope seemed lost, a young mouse jumped up. Imagine him beaming with this absolute exaggerated triumph. He is entirely convinced he has just solved the greatest problem in mouse history. He declares, "Let us hang a bell about the cat's neck. Then, whenever she draws near, the ringing will warn us in good time to flee." I mean, it sounds absolutely brilliant, doesn't it? A built-in early warning system. The young mouse is just incredibly proud of this pitch. And this right here brilliantly illustrates the difference between youthful enthusiasm and seasoned wisdom. While the young mouse receives loud applause and the problem seems, well, as good as solved, notice the reality check happening across the room. Through the cheering crowd, an old and wise mouse gets slowly to his feet. You can almost feel the weight of his experience as the whole room quiets down to hear what he has to say. The wise old mouse looks around the room, totally unimpressed by the celebration, and says, "The plan is excellent, I grant you. But there remains one small question. Which of us is going to bell the cat?" Oh, wow. Talk about bursting a bubble. It's just a completely deadpan, crushing reality check. Because really, who is actually brave enough or crazy enough to walk right up to the terrifying, relentless cat and physically tie a bell around its neck? To this, no one had any answer. Just let that awkward, comical silence sink in for a second. The cheering completely stopped. The brilliant plan was instantly dead in the water, because while the idea was amazing in theory, the execution was entirely impossible for a tiny mouse. Section 1. The golden quote, or the moral of the story. That hilarious and deeply awkward silence brings us directly to the main moral of our fable today. This is our absolute core takeaway as language learners. So the crucial point is right here. It is one thing to propose a plan and quite another to carry it out. It's so easy to sit in a safe room and brainstorm wonderful, perfect ideas. But the real challenge, the true test of any scheme, is in the execution. If we can't actually carry it out, the idea is practically useless. Moving right along to Section 2, Interactive Role Play. Practice time. It is time to step right into the cartoon world with us to practice our spoken English. Here is practice 1. You are the young, excited mouse. Imagine you're standing in front of the whole council. What is your scheme to stop the cat? Go ahead, pause the explainer, stand up, and announce your grand plan out loud. And make sure to use the word scheme in your answer. Great job. Now for practice 2. I want you to shift your mindset. You are now the old wise mouse. The room is cheering, but you know better. What is your critical question? Pause the explainer, channel your inner wise elder, use a serious voice, and ask the ultimate question that completely ruins the young mouse's plan. Awesome. And finally, practice 3. Let's look at this from the villain's perspective. You are the giant, relentless cat. You overhear this entire meeting. How do you feel about this ridiculous plot to put a bell on you? Pause the explainer one last time and give me your absolute best villain monologue out loud. Fantastic work on those role plays, by the way. Speaking out loud is for sure the best way to cement what we've learned. Section 3, Core Vocabulary Review. Let's look at our top 10 phrases. Let's quickly review our first 5 phrases. We have in constant terror, which is great for describing extreme ongoing fear. Relentlessly, a really powerful adverb for when someone or something just will not stop. Pick off one by one. A super visual phrase for eliminating targets individually. Remedy, your solution or cure. And guard against, meaning to protect yourself from a threat. I highly recommend taking a mental picture or even a quick screenshot of this list. These are incredibly useful for our daily English reading and speaking. Moving to our final 5 phrases. Scheme, which is a plan, often a clever or maybe a complicated one. Flee, a slightly more dramatic way to say run away. Be met with applause, perfect for describing a very positive reception to an idea. I grant you, which is a sophisticated way to say, I agree with this specific point, but... And finally, carry out, meaning to execute or perform a task. Notice how carry out ties directly back to our golden quote about executing plans. Knowing these phrases will seriously elevate your E3 English level. As we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave us with a question to reflect on. We all have big ideas, just like that young mouse. So I ask you, what is a bell in your own life that you've been planning to hang but haven't actually carried out yet? Maybe it's a new study routine, a project you've been putting off, or a conversation you know you need to have. Let's challenge ourselves not just to be the mouse who proposes the plan, but the one who figures out how to actually execute it. Thank you so much for exploring this with me today. Keep practicing, keep stepping into the story, and I will catch you on the next explainer.